Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Pranav. So welcome, man.
What's up, Kendrick?
Hey, man. Thanks for coming to the show. Can you please tell us your full type?
Yeah, for sure. So I am an INFJ jumper. I am MF, NITI, sleep, blast, play, consume.
Gotcha. And then when you got your results back, what did you think and how did you feel?
So I was somewhat shocked, but also somewhat not shocked. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. Around, I don't know, July-ish to like December, I thought I was an ISTJ or ISFJ with consume last because, I typed myself as double activated blast. But then I was like, if Dave and Shan keep saying that you type yourself upside down. So it's like, wait a minute. I think I'm an IJ, so maybe I'm actually an EP. So when I submitted to Dave and Shan, I typed ENTP and I basically got that in my head. So for a while I was thinking ENTP, ENTP. I got the NT right. I got MF right. But I was shocked to see NI savior and consume last. That was kind of wild as well. Because I thought it was like consume all the way up at the top by the time I had submitted.
Right. So your original assumption was actually correct. In the
Yeah.
ballpark, the IJ ballpark.
Yeah, so it's like a combination of SI DOM and NE DOM. Like even
Right.
like in the server, like most people were getting like they were telling me I was either an ENTP or an ISFJ. So this is kind of a mix.
You are both technically, if you
Yeah,
merge, yeah. All right, let's go over your parts, man. Let's start with
yeah, for sure.
NT. So you are a jumper INFJ. This is the type that everyone
Yeah,
wants to be. This is like the
yeah,
so you got the type that everyone wants to be.
yeah.
Although everyone wants to be play last, so except for the
I guess so. Yeah.
blast part. But anyway, um, how do you personally experience that NT first, sleep first?
Yeah, so it was definitely very surprising to see NITI. I originally thought it was an NTP, which apparently a lot of other people, like with the same type, thought they were like an INTP or ENTP before. But for me personally, NT sleep comes in the form of being able to problem solve, being able to work through lots of problems. Like in school, I was always very good at math. I was like several grades ahead of all of my peers. And like a lot of STEM subjects just came very easy to me. Also being a savior blaster, like I was really good at just block banging the knowledge that I already had to solve a problem, instead of if I wanted a mathematical formula, instead of just Googling up and consuming, I just use what I had and try to derive it, NT look a couple of steps ahead and derive that formula so I can solve that problem. It's also been useful in like programming and computer science, because it's really good for thinking of how to algorithmically solve a problem. Like if you can NI create the plan, then you can execute it. And currently, right now, I'm an engineering student.
Gotcha, man. I like your blast. It's so clear at explaining things. Because yeah, because sometimes it's easier for the viewers to understand if it's
Mhm.
clear. So yeah, thanks, appreciate that. All right, dude. So let's go to your next animal, NF blast. This is double activated.
Okay,
It's also the flavor of NF, and if I'm not wrong, it's not just double activated. It's also double feminine. So
it is
how did
double
you
feminine.
experience that?
Double. Okay, so that's I don't know. That's the one. That's the animal that I've been trying to process the most because I definitely did not think I had NF this very high up in my stack. But just looking at some ways that I experience it. One thing is that like job recruiting fairs, like when I'm talking to the recruiters, I notice that when they ask me questions, a lot of times I give them like an NF answer. So being a sleep last play, sometimes what I do is I like research about the companies like before going to the events just enough. And when I talk to them, I act like I know everything. And when they ask me, hey, why do you want to join our company? I usually give a super NF answer like, I really love a lot of the values you guys do. I like your innovation. I like your global expansion. I really like your work environment and how you guys have really good dedication to green energy and making the world a better place and stuff like that, instead of giving the ST report like, I am really good at the mechanical processes of understanding what's happening to an airfoil, and I know how to 3D print in CAD, and just ST reporting all these skills and just giving like the NF answer of what the company is kind of looking for. So that's one way. And in other ways is like, since I'm also missing consume, like when I want to do something, I think of what other people want to see. So it's like, although I've accused a lot of other people of doing this, I'm very guilty of like doing something just because it looks good on my resume, that kind of thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna teach myself the skill just because I have an NI plan where I know I'm gonna either be using it in the future, or FE, these recruiters and these other people are gonna like to see it.
Yeah, no, that's smart, man. That's, I mean, obviously you're ENFp, so you can figure that out.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of something that you've like built up a skill on just because it would look good in your resume, and like what was the thought process that helped you figure out that this is like a really good thing, on the resume?
I think I sort of used SF Play maybe to figure out what's good because I do have a YouTube channel, but also just in general when I talk to people, I talked a lot about like the college admissions process because that uses a lot of like a lot of these functions are pretty useful. Like I know a lot of colleges what they like to see on your resume in order to get accepted. They want to see community involvement. They want to see you like basically blasting to the community and doing things. So I was like, okay, I see a lot of people starting like nonprofits, doing research and doing all these things because they look good to companies. And also even on your resume in general, if you're trying to get a job, like they like to see these skills. So I've definitely, used that to my advantage to help improve my resume and just like blast out things that other people kind of want to see. I
I
also
guess.
have an example of
Go ahead.
an example of something not related to jobs and resumes as well. So I'm also a piano player, and one thing I've done is over the summer I realized that a lot of people like anime songs, right? They go really hard on the piano and everybody loves to listen to them. So what I did is I figured out like an NT pattern of how these anime songs go, because a lot of times they say like a lot of pop songs are the same chords over and over and over again, right? And it's kind of like that with anime songs. It's the same pattern. So I was like, okay, I figured out a pattern of how all these songs go, and I know SF, everybody else likes it. So when somebody gives me a song, okay, I just basically put it through the mental formula. I mix up my SE techniques, like my chromatics, giant leaps on the piano, all these cool different things that people like to see, and then I just NF blast it out.
So the first thing I wanted to mention was I guess that's a big difference between you and like the traditional INFJ, because
Yeah.
You're figuring things out, first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the anti portion of things.
Mm-hmm.
And second thing is with the piano playing, that sounds like it's like audio-kinesthetic because like you're using your hearing and then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
kinesthetic for the pressing the button. Can you share that a little bit since we're already in this topic? Like your audio-kinesthetic and like how you learn from listening and like, hitting things essentially.
Yeah. So, first I want to say I don't really relate to all the stereotypes of masculine sensory because I'm horrible at sports. Not really a big guy or anything like that, but definitely I do relate to what you're talking about, like kinesthetic on the piano. Right now I've been shifting a lot to like jazz music from classical music, and it's definitely a lot more rhythmic because I'm in the rhythm section of the jazz band, so I have to like, play nice chords and stuff to keep the band on track, aside from the drummer. And masculine sensory really comes in there so I can like really feel the beat of what the drummer is playing and really tap into that and stay in time. Like there's another pianist because there's like two pianists in the band, and I think he's like feminine sensory. So sometimes he gets like thrown off, or like if the other instruments are playing something, since he's feminine sensory, he gets moved around by the rhythm. But like for me, like no matter what everybody else is playing, like I try to focus in and just keep pushing the beat.
No, that's a good point. I never thought about it from that perspective, where like if you're like a
Mhm.
feminine sensory, you could get like
Yeah,
distracted by
you
the
get
other
thrown off
music.
beat. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I think that's a good insight. Um,
Hmm.
and then also with the sports thing, I mean, dude, you're still SE in the bottom, so like
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah. Although I don't know if you saw that video of that NITI they had in a class, also INFJ, and like he did a lot of like extreme marathons. I don't know if you saw that one, but like he proved that even though you're low SE, you can still do pretty well in the
I
realm of
haven't seen that one.
athletics.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oh shit, I forgot. But it's in a class. They showed this one INFJ jumper like you.
Mhm.
He's blast last though, but he like went
Oh,
all
okay.
athletics and like or marathons and stuff, and he's like the best. So it proves that you could be good. And then it's instead of like using FI to like motivate himself, he uses TI to stack reasons. So it's a little bit different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So hey man, you got hope then. One day, if you ever want to like, do some like athletic stuff, you might be surprised. Um,
I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. But I guess if you think about it, it's because if he's blast last, that means he has double activated consume, and your
Ooh,
consume
yeah.
is ST, right? So maybe that's why.
Oh.
So you have double masculine ST also. We'll cover that later because I want to talk about the demons
Yeah,
last.
yeah, yeah.
But but yeah, we'll touch on that. Let's go to play, because you also mentioned that you scan the
Play. Yeah.
environment for the SF and stuff.
Mhm.
Your play is like in a hobby position is third. It's SF.
Mhm.
What's cool, what's popular. Knowing the trends. Can you share a little bit of what you're doing with that SF play personally?
Yeah, so SF play, as you talked about, it is about like seeing the trends, what's cool and what's popular. And also because it's masculine sensory, I play the game of like big, better, best, like trying to be better than everything, trying to have more. You know, it's been an interesting animal, definitely starting college. I've noticed some positives with that, and also I think a lot of, because it is technically my tidal wave animal, I see a lot of tidal waves coming from that animal as well. Like I get so focused on like trying to be better than everyone else, so it's like when I see like um for example, I want to get like better grades than other people, and since it's sensory in FE, because I want to also blast and show off to other people, it's like, okay, I got to have better grades than everyone else. Okay, I see this guy is a part of these clubs and he has all these leadership positions. Oh, you know what, now I got to be better than all these people and have more. I need to have or like this guy is working at this company, so I want to pick the company or go to the college that has the most clout, which I think that's a word that these SEFE plays use, like trying to get clout. So I've seen SEFE sort of in college, like swinging from NT to SF, like having to basically bang on the outside world and care so much about what everybody's doing and trying to stay ahead. Like I talked about this in my typing video. I basically described this concept called self-nihilism. I don't know if I created it. I don't know if it's something that's already been out there. Haven't done the consume on that. But it's basically, nihilism is sort of nothing matters. And self-nihilism is sort of like nothing matters except for your own standards. And I watched my typing video and how I described it, and it seems a lot like going from that NT sleep and swing to SF play, because it's like, oh, all I care about are my inner standards, and that's all that's all that matters. As long as I have my vision, I know what's working for me, I'm good. But then I swing to, oh no, no, I can't live like that, because if I do that, I'm gonna be poor, I'm gonna be worse off than everybody else in life. So you know what I got to do? I got to try to be better than everyone else. I got to climb up the percentiles, because I described like a lot of things I see in life as like percentiles. You know, um, like I talked about, like having a social life, where you are in terms of grades, where you are in college in terms of your involvement. Like I'm always constantly looking at that percentile scale and checking myself. Am I up here? Am I way down here? Or where's everybody else on that scale?
It sounds like the answer is in the middle, like, because you can't just
Yeah.
go. It sounded like you were talking about the divide between your NT sleep and the divide between your SF play, and they're like kind of like
Yeah.
you have them both, so they're kind of balancing each other.
Hmm.
I see that as a good thing.
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting you use the word cloud, and you were scanning the tribe for like what school
Yeah.
they're going to and who's better and stuff. I'm curious. I don't know if you've been watching the videos they have recently in the classes, but they've been talking about where you are in the social spectrum, from one to
Yeah.
four. It sounds like you might be a little bit on the higher from based on what I'm hearing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what number would
I'm
you put yourself?
So, first of all, the definitions have been a little like, I've been trying to sort out what they actually mean, because by number one, do they mean you see yourself at the top, or do you want to see yourself at the top? Because there's a difference between that. You know, do I see myself at the top? Not really. Like I don't go around thinking I'm better than you, I'm better than you. Would I like to be at the top some point in life? Yeah, I would like to be at the top. I do want to be successful.
Yeah,
So if that's the definition they're using, then I think I would go with number one. And being an IJ, that's number one, because IJ is all about like having security in life, right? They want to be in control. It's like I get that security when I know I'm ahead of everyone else. And I know I've sort of had that in school. Like I was always one of the top kids in my school. I graduated at the top of my class. Part of that was because of the NT sleep just carrying me through school. Like even if I wasn't consuming new content, like I was able to take like tons of AP classes and all like college levels and be several grade levels ahead of my peers because I could just NT figure everything out. But I always try to maintain that it could be DI, that distance of trying to be above everyone.
right.
And then like when I was ahead of everyone, that was sort of my form of security. And then I come to college, or I'm no longer the big fish in a little pond, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a much bigger pool of people I'm competing against. So then I saw that competitive energy just come right back, and also being Savior Blast. It's like just keep knocking on the outside world and try to produce and try to get up to the top. So it could be a number one base, but I have to see what they even clearly mean by their definitions.
I think there's I mean Andrew Tate is the number one. He's kind of like almost your type, double masculine.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
But yeah, but that masculine feminine DI makes a big
it
difference, I
does.
think.
It
Like even
does.
other like type twins that are masculine FE, like they definitely seem pretty different.
Well, I mean, Kobe Bryant is MF, and he's number one also. So it's like it
Yeah.
depends on like the person per se. I think based on what David Chan is saying, I think if you see yourself as number one, it's not if you want to be number one. Because I think most people
Oh,
want to be
okay.
number one, but like
Yeah. Okay.
they also said a lot of number one sucks. So like, so just because you see yourself as number one doesn't mean you're actually good.
Yeah.
Like so,
Like I don't know if I'd want to do all the things of like cutting off everybody, cutting off all your friends, cutting off
yeah,
everyone else just to go to the top, because I didn't really relate to all of that, unless I am doing that and I'm just not consumed seeing it. But
maybe you're number two then. Like you still want to be
it could be,
like one of the best, but you don't necessarily be the best.
could
Like
be possibly.
without
I have to think about that.
sacrificing friends and family, of course, because that's like the caveat, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah.
But I always like number two is kind of like risk taking, like they want to take a lot of risks, and number three, like they don't take as many risks. So I thought I was either a one or a three. I didn't really think about two that much. Maybe.
I mean, it's possible because like
Yeah.
three. I mean the new definition they're kind of like playing with right now is number two is responsibility, while number three is focus. Like having a data focus. So
Okay.
it sounds like you put the responsibility on yourself to do really well in school. So it
Yeah.
could, yeah. But obviously you need to process that first.
When you mentioned something, you talked about like staying focused. That's definitely another attribute of myself that I've noticed, people say about me, but like I like to focus on like one or two things and just nail that out really well.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get jealous of some of the skibs because they can like do so many things and
Yeah.
then attack them all at the same time. And then I sort of like got this idea of, okay, it's better to be a master of one trade than to be a jack of all trades. But what if you can be a master of all trades? So it's like, what's the best way to get there? Is it best to start off as a jack of all trades, like a skib, and then just like master everything? Or to start off like me, like a sleep blast, like mastering one thing, then picking another thing, mastering that, and then going like that. It's like this, or like that.
Well, from what I've seen, like you guys who focus on one thing, you get ahead in life faster on the front end, but in the back end, you slow down because your skill set stop growing, right? So
Mhm.
I think as long as you keep that in mind, then you can plan for that with your NITI, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you have two skill set, right? You have like you said you're an engineer or studying to be in IT.
Yeah, I'm studying engineering. Yep.
Yeah, and then you have music, you have piano, so you have two skill sets already. So
Yeah.
it's not like and you're learning
Just gotta
jazz.
start blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the YouTube channel too, I guess, I recently started, but
There
that's
you
just
go,
for
man.
fun.
There you go. That's four skills. So you're kind of like swinging a little bit in the skip, You're doing a sleep blast,
Yeah.
play consume. Hey,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Another
you're
reason.
class. So that also helps,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Another reason like I thought I wasn't Savior Blast for like recently is because like I haven't really like produced anything tangible, in that sense. Like I haven't really made money from anything that I do. So it's like, no, this was literally my mindset. Okay. I was like, you know what? I haven't started $1 million company yet. And let me tell you, I'm only 19. Therefore, I can't be Savior Blast. Because I see so many kids like starting like nonprofits or starting clubs, and some of them are like consumed saviors. So I'm like, okay, if they're beating me with their demons, which are my saviors, it's like, oh gosh, I got to step it up.
Yeah. Well, maybe you just don't care. So I mean, it's because like if you care, obviously you would have done it already. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
and you're 19, so I mean, dude, like you're so
Yeah,
young.
of course. Yeah. I have so much
Yeah.
time.
All right, dude, let's go tackle the last part here, the ST consume last. This is the fun one.
Hmm.
Double masculine though, so
Yeah.
you have a slight
Yep.
advantage over the other
Hmm.
consume last people. So I wanna like approach it in a different direction. The first question I actually want to ask you is, you are currently going to school. You're studying engineering. When you go
Hmm.
to school, you're forced to consume. You have no choice. It's just part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
what do you think are the pitfalls that can happen to your life after you finish, after you graduate, and then like let's say maybe that you go for a master's after, right, or even a PhD. But once you finish all the schooling and there's nothing coming in anymore, what are the pitfalls for you, and how do you stop that from occurring? Like, how would you make sure that your stuff are still coming in to update your operating system essentially?
So after college, what I could focus on is probably let me first define how I see ST consume.
Sure.
So ST consume, I see it as like gathering tools for yourself and especially like tinkering around with like stuff. And that makes so much more sense now because my parents had always asked, like, hey, you want to be an engineer, but I've never seen you tinker or take apart clocks and planes and cars and stuff. Like, what gives? And now it's like, okay, I have ST consume at the bottom. I'm missing a lot of the technical knowledge. It's always been as long as I have the NI pattern, like I understand the mathematical formulas and physics formulas of how a rocket flies, I'm good. I don't have to build one. And that's sort of how I've seen myself getting not I haven't been screwed over it by it completely, but like where I see myself being behind in
Yeah.
college is like they're like, okay, build me a drone, build me something. It's like, I don't know how to work with my hands. Sorry. Like even like in robotics projects we do in engineering class, like I'm the guy that plans the algorithms, plans like the project structure, and like you build this thing for me, you ISTP. Um, so in the future, how I would take in that ST flow is I guess like get lots of hands-on experience and building experience, like just tinker around, break stuff, take things apart, make sure you learn a lot of the ST facts of like the projects that you're doing. Like I started this before I got my type back, but I'm doubling down on it now, making sure I get a lot of hands-on experiences. So I joined a club in school, in my college, which like builds drones, so I can really force myself to consume, tinker apart, take these things apart, build stuff together, and really make sure I'm getting that ST aspect. And also, I'm looked a lot at like internships and like opportunities like that because the stuff they teach you in school is very very NT, like formulas and stuff. But if I want the hands-on experiences so that people hire me again, the NF, um, I need to make sure I have sensory experiences to back it up. So if I take time off school to do like these internships, it's okay if I graduate late. I can get valuable ST hands-on consume experience. So I guess after college, just make sure you're getting those hands-on experiences. Don't live in your head and be super theoretical and just project plan. Make sure you're actually like using them to gain physical knowledge and experiences.
Gotcha. I think that's a pretty good plan actually. I want to ask you about not being info dom, being energy dom, and this ties
Yeah.
into being consume last also.
Yeah.
So Henry Cavill, like fellow, he's an ESTP, so the same
Mm-hmm.
function stack as you, just different order, obviously the opposite. So there's a video of him building a computer and he's reading like the manual on how to do it. So that's kind of like
Yeah.
STP, reading the facts and the
I
how
was
to.
actually okay. That's interesting because my parents would always say I read manuals as a kid.
Yeah,
Um,
reading manuals is like ST
yeah.
consume essentially. Now I just got a new job, and in my new job, I have like so many consume last coworkers, and what I noticed for them is if they want to validate an information, they refuse
Hmm.
to read anything on it. Instead, they contact the tribe. So they use the tribe to info dom to validate the information,
Yeah.
which might not be accurate because the tribe is it's hit or miss, right, with the tribe. So this is a two-part question. So the first part is, do you use the tribe to kind of do like a makeshift info dom to like validate the information? And number two, do you see yourself like reading like instructional manuals, like dictionaries, like Eminem reads the dictionary to make this song, like to validate your ideas and whatnot, and also to learn how to be more hands-on.
Yeah. So I definitely do. When I was younger, I definitely did read like a lot of manuals. My dad would call me like the manual reader, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But again, I would read it, but then I would, NF just get the NT understanding, not really build the actual thing. So I've definitely have been doing that, and then checking information with the tribe. Yes, absolutely, I do that. If I working with the team and I create my portion of the project, I'm like, hey, do you guys like it? FE like it. If they don't like it, all right, go back, just rework it a little bit more. Do you like it? And then I just keep jumping back between the two. And yeah, I definitely do use play to help validate my information and make sure it's accurate. But of course, sometimes it's not the best thing. You got to do the consuming yourself. It's also like if you're working on projects, it's good to have like one other person because I don't know if this is a consume last thing. Like you're really bad at finding stuff. Like it's also I think a demon SE thing. You're just not spatially aware of what's going on. Like I've been nicknamed like the absent-minded guy so many times because I'm just so like, I'll take something out of the fridge and forget to put it back, or like there's some decoration on the wall and I just don't notice it. So it's like if I'm with somebody else and I'm looking at something in my computer and I can't find where it is, hey, can you show me where it is? Um, I definitely do that consume last thing of like being the last one to figure out what's going on. But so I just keep banging on the tribe to give me the information.
That's so funny. Okay, so I want to point out something that you just said, which I thought was interesting. So you said that you did read manuals, but then
Yeah.
but instead of following through the entire manual, you use your NT to kind of take a shortcut and get the result faster. Because I feel, do you think that's because you're energy dom, you're trying to save, like, conserve energy and stuff, instead of like wasting the time, like step one, do this, step two, do this. And then the follow-up question is, do you feel like maybe you're missing out on a key learning opportunity if you followed the entire step from, like, let's say 1 to 10 or whatever?
So yeah, so the key learning opportunity, definitely, because like right now I'm in like a CAD class where you do CAD design, and basically it involves looking at a tutorial in a book and doing it step by step. But a lot of times what happens after a few steps, I'm like, okay, I understand what's going on. I can just do the assignment myself. And then I'm like, I spend like half an hour to an hour because one feature is not working. I'm like, all right, go look at the book, go look at the teacher lecture, and like I could have saved myself so much time had I just like read through it first and then done the assignment instead of just jumping very quickly. I never thought about it like energy dom and saving energy. That's definitely an interesting way to look at it. Maybe. I know I definitely do focus on saving energy. I don't know if this is an energy dom thing, but life sometimes feels like calculating how much sleep you're going to get at the end of the day, or like calculating, all right, NI planning, I'm only going to get 6 hours of sleep today. All right, tomorrow I'm going to get 7. All right, the day after that I'm getting 5. Oh wait, but then I've got scheduled to take a little nap in the middle of the day. So it's like keeping track of that as well.
Wow, so it's always in the back of your mind, eh?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys with ST labs are crazy. Like, I have your story of, like, you could have saved more time. Have you just read it? It's
Yeah.
like, I have a sister. She's an ENFp. She's ST
Mhm.
last, and like
Yeah.
she also gets caught by this. Like, no, I'm just gonna go. I don't want to read because she doesn't want to. Doesn't want to respect the ST, right? So like, for
Hmm.
example, she's renewing her passport. She'll go to the office, and then they'll be like, "You're missing this, 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 this," and she's like, "Oh, now she has to go home and get all that stuff now," which wasted like the whole day.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm like,
Oh
oh my,
gosh.
I'm like, oh my God, if you had respected the ST, you would have saved so much time. Just like,
Oh my gosh.
I know it's boring, but it's you just gotta do it.
Very
Um,
relatable.
okay, cool. So, dude, I want to ask about more about ST consume last. So
Yeah.
part of consume is externals. What's the word I'm looking here for? External
Awareness.
external self-awareness, yes, and also your how you present yourself to the tribe, essentially.
Yep.
And because yours is ST is correlated with competency. So, like, being like a doer, like, for example, if you're
Hmm.
like an INTP with high, like, TISI,
Yeah.
then everyone knows you're like the best engineer, because, like,
Hmm.
you can show it. You show you have a finished product, right? So, how do you see yourself with your ST consume last, in terms of self-awareness, external self-awareness, how the tribe perceives you, and also your image with the tribe of being competent at, like, actually being able to produce something concrete?
Hmm. Okay, so external self-awareness, I think now after getting typed, I'm seeing like my perception of myself versus the tribe's perception of myself. There seems to be a big difference, especially transitioning from high school to college. So in high school, I was always like the extremely nerdy, like antisocial kid. And then I sort of like got typecasted into that mentality. And then when I came to college, like I knew nobody was seeing me that way, but like that typecast just stayed in my head, and like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just a weird nerd kid going around. I wasn't really updating how other people thought, and then I asked a few people, and they were like, really, this is who you were in high school? Like you don't really seem to come off like that, And I guess it's just the thing of everybody in high school. Like I known him for 12 years. Like I sort of typecasted myself from whatever I did in elementary school, being the annoying NT blaster who wanted to share all of his concepts and got labeled a nerd and shut off from the tribe. But like I was definitely also like with the type I got very surprised to find out I was this extroverted. Like here's the thing with OPS, social extroversion, I feel like has a lot more to do with OE. like actually going out and gathering. Like a lot of the consume play sleeps, even though they are technically an introvert. Socially, I see a lot of them being extremely extroverted, going to parties, going to events, gathering, just crazy gathering everything in. But with me being double activated OI, it's definitely, even though I'm functionally extroverted because I go out to the tribe to share everything, I'm socially pretty introverted as well. And a funny story with that, like, I definitely have trouble like meeting people and making friends, but like I don't have trouble connecting with them. Like I can connect once I get my foot in the door, I can connect with them and be friendly because I do have twice activated FE. But getting my foot in the door and getting an opportunity to meet people, I just don't know where to look. Like I came to college and I'm like, where do I meet people? Like I don't know where to go to meet people. And my friend's like, dude, look around. There's everybody on campus. This is a college campus. What are you doing? Like you just go up to people and talk to them. But I'm like, no, you got to have a plan. I need to either meet them in class. It has to be during the first week of class. It can't be during any other week or else it doesn't fit the IJ box. I have to run into them at this event. I have to run into them here. It can't be like me meeting someone can't just be random chaos. That just like I just can't be spontaneous and go up to someone and be like, hey, what's up? It's all got to fit into that IJ box. So I have trouble meeting people, but then once I meet them, I can do that FE connection and be a little more extroverted in that regard. And then, oh gosh, my feminine and I went off. What was the original question?
Oh yeah, no, I was asking about your like the external image of being competent, being able to produce something concrete.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. I have to process that forward. I haven't really thought about if people actually see me as competent. I feel like in earlier, I definitely did put on a good image because again, I was known as like the smart kid in high school, and maybe somewhat I have that image in college. Like I definitely see myself as wanting to become more and more competent by learning all these new skills, like hands-on skills and like 3D printing, soldering, soldering, welding, and all this stuff. But do other people see me as competent? If I can sell myself well enough with that enough, yeah. But yeah, I'm not completely sure. I have to process that a bit more, I think.
And then do you feel like you're super shocked when you see like an ESTP just like instead of planning how to meet people, they just like literally just jump up to the next person.
Yes.
You're like, what the
Yes.
hell?
Oh yes, like if I'm at like the ESTP, just go up to random people and meet them, and they have
Yeah.
since they also have SEFE, they have so many social connections, so
Yeah.
they can get to like events. Because you know what they say in industry, it's who you know, not what you know,
Right.
and
100%.
being lead sleep, you're just in your own world, not going out. You only go out just to show all your stuff, not really to um yeah, you just go out to show stuff and you're not gathering in because like with being an observer, people are kind of like, objects sort of, right? Because like you're not super worried about people. So it's like I'm not meeting as many people as like say ESTP, consume play, who's just going out in the tribe to also double decidering and gathering all these people into
Right.
their network.
I guess you're lacking a networking plan because it's you already figured out that it's who you know, it's not what you know, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's like a bigger factor than competency
Mhm.
almost, because like you see a lot of people who's incompetent getting hired for a job and you're like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, yeah.
How did this like this ass hat get a job when
Oh
he or she doesn't even know what they're doing, and
yeah.
it's like, oh, we have lots of friends, like
Yep.
yeah, yeah. My next question for you is interesting, because we both share our fourth animals is double masculine,
Oh, okay.
and then when you have a fourth animal that's double masculine, there's almost this weird gravitational pull towards it. So even though it's
Mhm.
fourth, you almost feel like obligated to like check in on it at least once in a while, which is good. This is a good thing,
Mhm.
So because you have double masculine ST consume, do you feel like once in a while you will like go on a binge of consume like the ST, like reading a manual or whatever, just because you're like, there's like this thing here. I know it's real and it has to be respected. I should probably be
Yeah.
doing more of this. Like, what's your experience with like the double masculine aspect of that?
Yeah, I think like when I do start reading new things, it comes in a huge swing of like a long time. Like the other day when I was working on helping my plane build team, I was there from like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. just straight up just consuming how to do this and then blasting, I guess. So getting like ST experience in like a huge swing. I definitely relate to that. And maybe double masculine consume is why I thought I had consume higher in my stack because like I do check in with it because like since it gets balanced by feminine and I like I see like some giant elaborate theory and then I'm like well, maybe I have to check it out with the facts, or I'll end up like, oh, it's just a theory in the end, the reality might prove otherwise. So I'm definitely still respecting and staying grounded to the ST facts, and making sure I at least look at that at the very end of the day after I've exhausted the other three animals.
So we both have something that's almost identical. We both have a double activated animal that's double feminine. Yours is blast, mine is play.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously the last animal. It's a weird combination because your double activate animal is, because it's double feminine, there is like a certain level of uncertainty to it. So even though you're abusing it, it's also
Yep.
uncertain, which is weird as hell.
Mhm.
Then you have to rely on your fourth animal, which is like
Yeah.
it's a demon, but it's double masculine. So there is like a level of
Mhm.
confidence towards it. But what's going on with this weird contradictions that's going on within you?
Yeah. Because okay, so NF Blast is sort of talking about like values and like hippie talk and positive talk, and since it's double feminine, it's like hippie, even more hippie possibly, because it's like super just wiggly and movie. So when I do get into that phase of like, I guess it's kind of like inspirational talk, like yeah, we should do this, or I start like reflecting on like my own self, like meaning and things like that. Um, like oh, I've been going through this. This is what's happened, or like this is how like we should all be. And then people are like, dude, what are you talking about? Because it's also like I'm not. It's not. I'm not. I don't know if it's insecure is the right word because it is double feminine and it's not like not grounded on it and just like shoving these values that the tribe should follow. It's more like these are kind of what we should do and just like being very movable with it.
Yeah.
And then we're like, what is this? Why are you being so hippie talk, so positive, so weird? Because what I really want to fight people with is that ST facts of like, you're wrong.
Right.
These are the facts and
Yeah.
whatnot. This is what the literature says. This is what's been done. This is what's happened in reality before. Stop slapping positivity and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's so weird, eh? That weird like paradox.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so annoying too. I completely relate to you because I have the same problem. So
Yeah.
um all right, dude. Let's talk about you being energy dom versus info dom. Okay.
Hmm.
So energy dom, the biggest cues that someone's an energy dom is they're goofy as hell. They don't take anything seriously. And then the second part is obviously, knowing when to preserve energy or knowing when to expend it. Yeah. What's going on with you with the goofiness or not taking anything seriously?
Okay.
And yeah.
So the second part of it, preserving energy, absolutely. I am pretty good at like preserving and expanding energy, like making sure I get like enough sleep per night. I guess that's kind of like an energy dom thing. um not overworking myself, making sure like instead of just doing all my work in complete swings, doing like little bits per day. um I don't know if this is a savior blasting, but I've noticed I'm a bit of an anti-procrastinator. Like I try to get things done much early, probably because I want to avoid all the SE chaos of late assignments and everything that could go wrong in the end. But it could also be an energy dom thing of like you're not just the waiting all the way until the last minute to just get through everything, because I know I'm not going to be able to. So I have to slowly like spread it out over time. The not taking seriously and goofy, I find that pretty interesting because I always thought it was like super strict and super rigid. That could also be the ST like double masculine. But even between like infodoms, like the blast infodoms versus the blast energy doms versus the consume energy doms seem to be a bit more goofier, like the ones missing blast versus mine. I feel like we do like goof off, but we also have phases where we're like super serious because it's blast and it's producing and getting things done.
Right. That makes sense.
And like yeah, because like my parents have like described me as like strict officer. That's like the nickname they gave me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because that double activated blast, like go go go,
Right.
and also ST like making sure all the facts are there, like the double masculine. So I have a lot of like infodom characteristics maybe because of that, or at least just like, or even if I'm not infodom like it, I'm not super uh that goof off, because even like with group projects, like I'm one like, hey, let's get all these tasks done and whatnot, and then we can goof off later. Versus like usually it's the blast last energy doms that just want to goof off, show off. They come late to the meeting, they don't really contribute, and then they just like leave. They just have fun and leave.
I feel like it's only because you're 19. Like your play hasn't matured yet. I feel like when your
Yeah,
play
yeah,
matures, you're gonna be like doing a lot of like idiotic energy
oh
dump,
yeah,
like kind of like Dave, because you're like pretty much like
yeah,
Dave.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I am very close to this type. Yeah, like I'm seeing my plays slowly come in because my early years, like high school, middle school, was just sleep. Like this is literally just sleep.
Right.
Blast is only slowly coming in now. Like I'm getting much more conscious of like, oh hey, I gotta produce this. I gotta start making videos. I gotta start getting myself involved with clubs. I gotta start doing this and that. Like Blast is now kicking in, and then I think play will probably come pretty soon, like vibing and having fun.
Yeah,
Or
for
it's already
sure.
coming in a little
I,
bit.
I-
Yeah,
I'd love to see you in like 4 years. You're like, woo, you're like fucking nuts, you know? Like, I'm like, what the hell happened to you, man? You know? Like,
yeah.
he's like, I saw the light. Anyways, um, let's go over the last part now. I want to talk about your INFJ tidal waves. So from the SE.
Yeah.
So the tidal waves from the SE. And what's going on there. So let's cover all the different parts here. Your fear of chaos and
Oh
tidal
yeah.
waves you've experienced with the SE at the bottom. So let's jump in when it comes to this.
Yeah, the fear of chaos. That one. Yeah, with like, I talked about earlier how I don't allow myself to be impulsive. It feels like I just keep trapping myself in a box that I'm not able to get out of, because if I get out of it, it means like getting into the chaos and doing something random. Some other examples would be like, this could be an energy dom thing, like planning out how much energy it takes to get to the store, buy the stuff, and then come back to my room. And then especially like fumbling, ST at the bottom and SE just fumbling with like devices and stuff and being like, I don't know how to figure this out. Like it took me so long to finally get the courage to go up to the sandwich press machine at the dining court and finally use it, because I was so scared I would not know how to use it, or I'd mess up and destroy the machine or something. Or like going to the store and like buying stuff, like being the guy who didn't know how to use like the scanner or something. I was afraid. Or even like something like, I don't know, going to the gym for the first time. I wanted to be the guy. I have to, like Demon Consume, I had to act like I knew how to use all the machines already and use it perfectly. I can't be scanning the code and be figuring it out right then. And then also fear that SE just like mess up with the machine and like not be doing it properly. So it's like getting acquainted with like the random SE chaos. And of course, college is extremely chaotic with lots of stuff going on all the time. So getting acquainted with that as well. SE, of course, I also see it as taking in facts and to actually create your good projections. One of my NI fears, with NI, I really want to have security really early in life, making sure I've got a job. Like I wanted to have an internship first year. I can't be waiting, because if I wait later on, then there's a chance I could be unemployed. What? Hey, dude, I've got so many chances. Just because I don't get a job first semester, or I'm not the president of a club first semester, doesn't mean I'm going to be unemployed on the streets. Like, without sort of like the fear, like my NI just kept going so far down the line. Or like last semester on a math midterm, I did really bad, and I was like, oh my gosh, just one data point of doing bad on a midterm. Because of that, my GPA is going to be slightly lowered. Because of that, I'm not going to get a job. Because of that, I'm not going to have experiences to put on my resume. And because of that, boom, unemployed. That's it. Life's over.
Dude, your conclusion is so funny. Like it's so funny. No, because I see your chain of thought, because I'm also lead and
Mhm.
right? So I can see
Yeah.
all of that stuff. But for me, it's like the conclusion is not negative, because I'm an OE, right? So it's like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Homeless? What the like? I mean, and I like how it's only like one conclusion, because like I have NE, so I
Yeah.
can see like multiple possibilities. I'm like, this could happen, this could
Mhm.
happen, this could happen, this could happen. But for you, it's like this will happen, and I'm dead. I might as well just kill
Yeah.
myself, like just kidding.
Yeah, because one SE data point, you're not looking at the spectrum. You're just grabbing one and then making a
Yeah.
conclusion based off that.
So, Dave is like almost the same type as you. And one of the things he said, like if he could turn back time, and also like an advice he has for younger people is like, in your 20s, you should go all out and just go OE. Just gather as much so you have
Yeah.
materials to work with. Even if you fuck up
Mhm.
and stuff, it's cool, because like,
Mhm.
it's part of the deal, right? And then when you get to your 30s and 40s, then you have like lots of things to work with, because you have lots of
Mhm.
life experience. What do you think about that? Like that specific wisdom that he imparted, like a 40-plus-year-old version of yourself,
Yeah.
essentially. Like, do you think that's like a good advice? Do you think something that you can see yourself taking that advice, or do you see yourself like,
Yep.
just can't help? I have to get security now. Like, what's your take on that?
I think I should take that advice. Well, my mom, like, she's not into OPS, but she basically gave me the same advice, like, starting college, and I was kind of like, yeah, right. Um, but like, basically, like, this is the time, especially in college, like, this is the time to learn. This is the time to be a skib. Like, if you end college and you're haven't started a company, you end college and you haven't really like produced anything, that's actually, it's okay. You know, even when I end college, I'm only going to be like 22, 23. Like it's okay at that age if you still haven't produced anything. If you like make sure to fill up your skip bag, you know, make sure you're learning well in your classes, participate in outside extracurricular activities and get experiences from those. And then you know, talk with people, network, really build up that skip bag before going out and, you know, doing the sleep and blast stuff later in life.
All right, man. We're gonna wrap up the interview soon. Do you have any final message that you want to say? I do want to add one thing though. Is like, when I was looking at like the Forbes like richest people, they're all like INTPs and ENTPs. So I think you know, those guys are doing something right, and like
they are doing something right for sure.
Yeah. So
being a
go ahead.
Yeah, being a skib first probably is pretty beneficial because they're all skibs, right? Or like some of them are mopes, but
yeah,
Xavier can say.
I mean, I think Elon Musk is the only OI in that list, you know. But like,
oh yeah, I actually came up with like a sort of like a theory about this, you know, because I basically said that. So if you looked at the spectrum of like people who are successful, I feel like the people that are blast last are usually at the polls, because a lot of blast last, since they don't really want to produce anything, they just live their lives just chilling,
right?
And they usually end up in the bottom of the success. But like the people you talked about, that's like a very small like portion of them, because they've gone through the consume, sleep, and play, and then their growth mindset enough to start blasting. They're in that very top portion.
Exactly.
The type like, I don't know, like ISTJ, consume last, I feel like they'd be in the middle, because they get started, they can get that blast sleep, but then of course later in life the OEs catch up and a lot of times surpass them, or at least the few growth mindset OEs. So I feel like, you know, if you looked at the spectrum, you'd have like the blast last at the bottom and all the way at the top. Then you'd have like you know, I guess DIDEs like a little bit in, and then you'd have like the I's like in the middle. They usually end up pretty average, like they're ahead of people, but then they run out, you know.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. Like, I think you need like new materials as fuel, and
for sure.
You know, the OIs, you know, you guys run out of steam halfway through life, and then you have your security, but then you're done.
Yeah.
You know? And then you have to catch up now to the OEs, who's like, they have so much material to work with. So you're yeah. But like, if you look at like a lot of like, if you look at Shark Tank, a lot of them are EJs. So it's like another thing that kind of like interesting. And you have like TI at the bottom, like the tiny TI syndrome. But like, you know, but like when they do use it, oh my God, they're like millionaires and billionaires. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even that one CEO, who's Dave's exact type, Jack Ma. I think he was on the Forbes list too. He's definitely at the top. He's he's Dave's type twin, who's very close to my type, and he's definitely like, was he top 10? I don't remember, but he was like from China, and he was like a big CEO.
Yeah, but then the Chinese government's like hounding him now, so he has other issues. So yeah, I don't envy him, because like he's on the run. He lives in Japan now or something. Because like you know, but you know, I guess that's like a consumer last problem. He didn't see what was coming. You know. All right, dude. We'll wrap that interview here. So thanks for coming out and sharing more about.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, this was a really fun talk. So I really enjoyed it.
It was really fun.
All right, take care, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, have a good day.